The voicemail was still in my phone when I walked into my father's retirement party. I hadn't deleted it. I kept playing it back, listening to my mother's voice, light, crystalline, practiced, the way she sounded when she was managing something. "Nina, sweetheart, just confirming you're coming solo on Saturday. I've got you at the family table, of course, but I seated Madison and Trevor at the head with your father since, well, you know. First-time parents need the attention. Your dad's so excited about finally being a grandfather. Anyway, see you then. Love you." Finally being a grandfather. My son turned 14 months old that morning. I'd sung happy birthday to him over breakfast, and he'd smashed his hands into a blueberry muffin while my husband, Ethan, filmed the whole thing on his phone laughing. Our boy, Owen. Dark curls, gray eyes, the kind of laugh that sounded like hiccups. He was sleeping in our house in Denver right now, 3 states away, while I stood in a banquet hall in Stamford, Connecticut, holding a glass of white wine I hadn't taken a single sip from. Finally. I want you to understand something before I go any further. I'm not a dramatic person. I don't make scenes. I spent most of my childhood being the daughter who didn't need things, didn't need attention, didn't need reassurance, didn't need my parents at my soccer games because I'd already accepted that Madison's dance recitals mattered more. That's not self-pity. That's just how it was. Some families have a sun, and everyone else is a planet. Madison was the sun. I was fine being Neptune. Cold, distant, mostly ignored. I'd made peace with it. Or I thought I had. But standing there, listening to my mother's voicemail for the 6th time in 2 days, the word finally sat in my chest like a shard of glass. Let me back up. My name is Nina Callahan, well, Nina Reeves now, though my mother still addresses Christmas cards to Nina Callahan, as if my marriage didn't happen. I'm 31. I'm a user experience designer for a healthcare software company, which is a job I have to explain at every family gathering, and even then my father's eyes glaze over after the first sentence. I've lived in Denver for 7 years. I met Ethan at a design conference in Boulder. He's a high school history teacher, the kind of person who remembers his students' names 5 years later and still goes to their college graduations. We got married 4 years ago at a small ceremony in Rocky Mountain National Park. 20 people came. My parents didn't. They were invited. I sent a formal invitation, cream cardstock with burgundy lettering, 8 weeks in advance. My mother called 2 weeks before the wedding and said they couldn't make it. My father had a board meeting that weekend, something critical with the insurance agency he'd built from the ground up over 30 years. She said he felt terrible. She said they'd make it up to me. They sent a KitchenAid mixer. I cried in the bathroom of the cabin we'd rented the night before the wedding. Ethan found me on the floor, still in my jeans and a sweatshirt, and he didn't say anything. He just sat down next to me and held my hand until I stopped shaking. Then we went to bed, and the next day I married him in front of people who actually showed up, and I told myself it was enough. It was enough. Except 2 years later, I got pregnant. I need to be honest about this part. The pregnancy cracked something open in me that I thought I'd sealed off years ago. The morning I saw the positive test, I sat on the edge of the bathtub and the first person I thought of, before Ethan, before my best friend Julie, before anyone, was my mom. I wanted my mom. I called her that afternoon. I was 12 weeks along, past the point where my doctor said it was safer to share. I was crying when she picked up. I told her we'd heard the heartbeat that week. I told her everything looked good. I told her I was terrified and excited and I didn't know what I was doing. She was quiet for a long time. Then she said, "Oh, honey, that's wonderful. When are you due?" I told her March. She said, "March. Okay. Let me tell your father. He's going to be over the moon." I asked if I could tell him myself. "He's at the office, sweetie. You know how he gets when you call him there. Let me handle it. I'll tell him tonight and he'll call you tomorrow." He didn't call. I waited 3 days. Then I called his office directly. The receptionist, a woman named Pam who'd been answering his phone since I was in high school, told me he was with a client. I left a message. He didn't call back. I tried again the next week. Same thing. By the time I was 18 weeks pregnant, I'd called 7 times. I'd sent 2 emails. I'd texted my mother asking if he'd gotten my messages, and she kept saying the same thing. He's just swamped right now, honey. You know your father. He's thrilled, he's just not great at expressing it. So I waited. I sent him a copy of the 20-week ultrasound in the mail, printed on photo paper, with a handwritten note that said, "Hi, Grandpa. Can't wait to meet you." I never heard anything. My mother said he'd cried when he saw it. She said he'd put it on his desk at work. She said he was just busy, and I needed to be patient with him, that men his age didn't know how to process this kind of joy. I wanted to believe her. Owen was born on a Tuesday in March. 6 hours of labor, no complications. Ethan's parents flew in from Sacramento the day before. His mom held Owen in the hospital room and wept. She whispered to him in Spanish, the same words her grandmother had whispered to her when she was born, and I lay there in the bed with stitches I could still feel and thought, this is what it's supposed to be like. We named him Owen James, after Ethan's grandfather. I sent the announcement anyway. I'd ordered 60 of them, white linen cardstock with a tiny footprint watercolor in the corner. I wrote a note to my parents on the back of theirs. "Mom and Dad, meet your grandson. We'd love for you to visit whenever you're ready." I mailed it with a 5x7 photo of Owen in the hospital, wrapped in the pale blue blanket the nurses had given us. I never got a response. 3 weeks later, I sent a package to my father's office. A small photo album, leather-bound, the kind he used to keep on his desk when I was a kid. Pictures of me and Madison at various ages, smiling and matching Easter dresses or holding up fish we'd caught on a trip to Maine. I filled the album with pictures of Owen, newborn photos, 1-week photos, a picture of Ethan holding him in the glider in the nursery, a picture of me kissing his forehead. I wrote on the first page, "For Grandpa's desk, we love you." I had Pam confirm she'd put it on his desk herself. I never heard a word. For 14 months, I told myself a story. I told myself my father was overwhelmed. I told myself he didn't know how to be a grandfather yet, that he needed time, that his own father had been distant and maybe he didn't have a model for this. I told myself my mother was doing her best to manage him, that she was protecting me from his awkwardness. I sent photos every month. I sent a Christmas card with Owen in a red knit sweater. I sent an Easter photo of him sitting in the grass, holding a stuffed lamb. I called my mother every other Sunday, and every time I asked about Dad, she said he was doing great. He was proud of me. He was just busy. I asked if they wanted to visit. She said maybe in the fall, once things settled down at the agency. I asked if we should come to them. She said the house was under renovation. It wasn't a good time. I asked if we could do a video call. She said my father hated video calls, that he could barely work his phone. So I waited. And then, in late September, my mother called and told me they were throwing my father a retirement party. 30 years running Callahan and Associates. She said it was going to be a big event. Clients, family, colleagues, everyone who mattered. She said Madison was helping plan it. She said it would mean the world to my father if I came. I said, "Of course I'll come." She said, "Just you though, honey. It's a formal event, not really kid-friendly." I said, "Mom, Owen's 14 months old. He's not going to disrupt anything." She laughed, this light, tinkling laugh. "Sweetheart, your father hasn't even met him yet. Let's not overwhelm him at his own party. You understand." I didn't understand, but I said okay. I said okay because that's what I'd been doing my entire life. The party was on a Saturday in October. I flew in Friday night, rented a car, and drove to the Sheraton near my parents' house. My mother had suggested I stay there instead of with them. The renovations, she said. Even though when I drove past their house on the way to the hotel, it looked exactly the same as it always had. I texted Ethan when I got to the room. Told him I'd landed safely. Sent him a picture of the bland hotel art on the wall. He sent me a video of Owen clapping his hands and babbling. I watched it 4 times before I could put my phone down. The next morning, I got coffee in the hotel lobby and checked my email. There was a message from Madison, sent at 6:30 that morning. The subject line said, "Seating chart finalized." I opened it. It was a PDF of the banquet hall layout. I found my name at a table near the back, seated with 2 of my father's former clients and their wives, people I'd met maybe twice in my life. Madison's name was at the head table, next to my father, next to my mother. The label under her name said, "Madison Hale plus Trevor Hale plus Baby Hale." Baby Hale. I sat there in the lobby of the Sheraton with my coffee going cold, staring at my phone. Madison was 6 months pregnant. I knew because she'd posted about it on Instagram with a series of professionally shot photos of her and Trevor on a beach in Cape Cod. Her hand on her belly, both of them barefoot in white linen. The caption said, Our greatest adventure begins February 2024. Baby Hale, we can't wait to meet you. My mother had commented. The first grandbaby! We are beyond blessed. I'd stared at that comment for 20 minutes when I first saw it. I'd typed out 3 different responses and deleted all of them. Finally, I just closed the app. But now, sitting in the Sheraton lobby, looking at the seating chart, I felt something I hadn't let myself feel in 14 months. I felt angry. I got in my car and drove to my parents' house. It was just after 9 in the morning. My mother answered the door in a silk robe and slippers, her hair already blown out, a cup of coffee in her hand. She looked surprised to see me. Nina, sweetheart, you're here early. Can I come in? Of course. She stepped aside, and I walked into the house I grew up in. It smelled the same, lavender candles and the faint vanilla of my mother's perfume. The living room looked the same. The photos on the mantel were the same. I scanned them. Madison's wedding photo. Madison and Trevor on vacation somewhere tropical. A picture of my parents at some charity gala. A picture of me and Madison as kids, maybe 10 and 6, holding hands on a dock. Nothing recent. No wedding photo of me and Ethan, even though I'd sent her a framed copy 2 years ago. No photo of Owen. My mother followed my gaze. Can I get you some coffee? I turned to look at her. Mom, where's Dad? He's playing golf with Trevor. They'll be back this afternoon. Why? I need to ask you something. She smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. Of course, honey. I pulled out my phone. I opened Instagram. I navigated to Madison's pregnancy announcement and turned the screen toward her. You commented that this was your first grandbaby. She glanced at the screen. Her smile didn't falter. Well, it's the first one we'll get to be close to, sweetheart. You're all the way in Denver. I have a son. I know you do. His name is Owen. He's 14 months old. I know. You told me Dad cried when he saw his ultrasound photo. He did. So why would you call Madison's baby the first? Her smile finally faded. She set her coffee down on the side table and folded her arms. Nina, don't do this. Don't do what? Don't make this into something it isn't. What is it then? She sighed, the kind of sigh that said I was being exhausting. Your father is very excited about Madison's baby. That's all. He's going to be able to watch this child grow up. He's going to be present. You chose to move halfway across the country. You chose to build a life that doesn't include us. You can't be upset when we get excited about a grandchild we'll actually see. I stared at her. I've invited you to visit a dozen times. You invited us once things settled down. Things have been settled, Nina. You just didn't follow through. You told me the house was under renovation. It was. We redid the kitchen. When? Last year? Mom, I called you in April asking if we could visit. You said the house was torn apart. The kitchen was torn apart. You have 5 bedrooms. She picked up her coffee again, cradling it in both hands. I don't know what you want me to say, Nina. I want you to tell me why my son doesn't exist to you. Her jaw tightened. That's not fair. Isn't it? You're being dramatic. Am I? She looked at me for a long moment, and I saw something in her face I'd seen 100 times growing up. The look that said I was the difficult one, the one who complicated things, the one who couldn't just let it go. Your father, she said carefully, has a lot on his mind. The retirement has been stressful. Madison's pregnancy has given him something to look forward to. I'm not going to apologize for protecting his peace. By pretending my son doesn't exist? By not forcing him to feel guilty about a grandchild he can't be involved with. I felt something crack in my chest. Mom, he didn't call me back. Not once. I called his office 7 times. You know how he is. I sent him a photo album. He's a busy man, Nina. He's retiring. He's got time to play golf with Trevor, but he can't pick up the phone? She didn't answer. I said, quieter now. Does he know Owen exists? Of course he knows. Does he know his name? She hesitated. Just for a second. That hesitation told me everything. I left. I walked out of my childhood home, got in my rental car, and sat in the driveway with my hands on the wheel, shaking. Then I called my sister. Madison answered on the 3rd ring, bright and distracted. Hey Nina, Mom said you were in town. Are you coming to the party tonight? Yeah, I said. I'm coming. Great. I can't wait for you to see the setup. We went all out. Dad's going to cry, I swear. Maddie, can I ask you something? Sure. Does Dad know I have a son? There was a pause. Not long, maybe 2 seconds, but I heard it. Of course he does, she said. Does he know his name? Another pause. Nina, what's this about? I need you to answer me, she sighed. Look, I think Dad knows you had a baby, but honestly, you've been kind of MIA. You didn't come home for the holidays last year. You barely call. I think he's just, I don't know. He's focused on what's in front of him. I sent him pictures. Did you? 14 months worth. Well, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe they got lost in the mail. I sent them to his office. Nina, I don't know. Maybe you should talk to him tonight. I'm going to. Good. Great. Listen, I have to run. I've got a hair appointment before tonight, but I'll see you there, okay? She hung up before I could respond. I sat in the rental car outside my parents' house and opened my text thread with Ethan. Me. I think something's really wrong. Ethan. What happened? Me. I don't think my dad knows Owen exists, not really. Ethan. What do you mean? Me. I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out. I went back to the hotel. I opened my laptop. I started searching. I logged into the family iCloud account, the one my mom had set up years ago so we could share photos. I hadn't checked it in over a year. I scrolled through. There were albums labeled by year. I opened the one labeled 2023. Hundreds of photos. Madison's beach maternity shoot. My parents at a fundraiser. My father on the golf course. Madison and Trevor at brunch. A picture of my mother and Madison shopping. Another of my father and Madison at some event, his arm around her shoulders. I scrolled. Not a single photo of Owen. Not one. I checked 2022, the year he was born. Nothing. I opened my messages. I searched for every photo I'd ever texted my mother. I found them. Dozens of them. Owen in the hospital. Owen at 2 months. Owen's first smile. Owen in the bath. Owen with Ethan. None of them had been added to the shared album. I checked my mother's text responses. Every single one was some version of, "Oh, how sweet," or "He's getting so big," or "Love this." But she'd never shared them. She'd never shown them to anyone. I sat on the hotel bed with my laptop open, staring at the screen. Then I did something I probably shouldn't have done. I logged into my mother's email. I still had her password from 2 years ago when she'd asked me to help her reset her phone. She'd never changed it. I searched for my name. Hundreds of results. I filtered by the last 2 years. And then I saw it. An email thread between my mother and Madison. The subject line said, "End situation." I opened it. The first message was from my mother, sent 3 weeks after Owen was born. "Madison, I need your advice. Nina sent another photo of the baby. I don't know what to do. Your father keeps asking when she's going to settle down and give us grandchildren, and I don't have the heart to tell him she already did. He's going to be upset that she didn't include us, that she got married without us there, that she's built this whole life we're not part of. I think it's easier if we just let this run its course. Once you have your baby, he'll have a grandchild he can actually be present for. We can deal with Nina later." Madison's response, sent 2 hours later. "Mom, I think you're right. Dad doesn't need the stress. And honestly, Nina made her choices. She moved away. She didn't come home for Christmas. She barely calls. If she wanted us involved, she would have made it easier. Let's just focus on what we can control. When the baby comes in February, Dad will have his hands full anyway." I read it 3 times. Then I kept scrolling. There were more. An email from my mother to Madison, sent the day I mailed the photo album to my father's office. Pam said Nina sent a package to the office. "I'm going to pick it up before your father sees it. I'll hold on to it for now." An email from Madison, sent after I'd called asking to visit. "Tell her the house is under construction or something. Trevor and I are planning to move closer to you guys next year anyway. And once the baby's here, it'll be easier to explain why we're prioritizing local family." An email from my mother, sent in August. "Your father asked me yesterday if Nina was ever going to have kids. I told him maybe someday. I don't think he even remembers she's married. It's better this way." I closed the laptop. I sat on the bed in that hotel room and I didn't move for a long time. Then I picked up my phone and called Ethan. "Nina? What's wrong?" I told him everything. He was quiet for a long time. Then he said, in that steady voice he uses when he's trying not to break something, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want you to get on a plane." "When?" "Today. Right now. Bring Owen. I need you both here." "For the party?" "Yes." "Nina. Please." Another pause. Then, "Okay, I'll book the next flight." "Thank you." "Are you okay?" I looked at my reflection in the mirror across from the bed. I looked exactly like I always had. Straight brown hair, my father's nose, my mother's mouth. The invisible daughter. "No," I said. But I will be. I hung up and opened a new browser tab. I had 6 hours before the retirement party. I had work to do. I started with my father's office. I drove there at 11 in the morning, when I knew he'd still be on the golf course. The building was a low brick structure on the north side of town, the kind of place that had been there since the 80s and never bothered updating. Callahan and Associates, in gold letters on the glass door. Pam was at the front desk, same as she'd been for 15 years. She looked up when I walked in and her face lit up. "Nina Callahan! Oh my God, look at you!" I hadn't seen her in 3 years. Not since the last time I'd come home for Christmas. She came around the desk and hugged me, and I let her because Pam had always been kind to me in a way my own mother sometimes wasn't. "I didn't know you were in town," she said, stepping back to look at me. "Are you here for your dad's party?" "I am. Is he here?" "No, honey. He's golfing with your brother-in-law. They won't be back until late afternoon. Did you need to leave something for him?" "Actually," I said, "I wanted to ask you about something I sent him. A while back." Her smile dimmed slightly. "What kind of something?" "A photo album, leather-bound, about this big." I held up my hands. "I sent it here last April. You told me you put it on his desk." Pam's face changed. Not much, just enough that I knew she remembered. "I did put it on his desk," she said slowly. "What happened to it?" She glanced toward the hallway that led to the back offices, then back at me. "Your mother picked it up the next day." "She came here?" "She said your father had mentioned it, and she wanted to take it home to look through it with him." Pam hesitated. "Nina, is everything okay?" I didn't answer directly. "Do you remember what was in it?" I peeked. "I'm sorry, I couldn't help it. It was photos of a baby." She paused. "Your baby?" "Yes. I didn't know you had a baby." Something about the way she said it. This woman who had worked for my father for a decade and a half, who sent me a birthday card every year, who remembered how I took my coffee, made my throat tight. "His name is Owen," I said. "He's 14 months old." Pam put her hand over her mouth. "Oh, honey. Does my dad know?" She shook her head slowly. "He asks about you sometimes. He asked me last month if you were still in Denver, if you were seeing anyone. I told him I thought you'd gotten married and he looked surprised. He said you hadn't told him." I felt something cold settle in my stomach. "Pam, I need to ask you something, and I need you to be completely honest with me." "Of course. Has my mother been intercepting things I've sent here?" Pam looked at me for a long moment. Then she walked back around her desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a folder. She handed it to me without a word. Inside were copies of the sign-in logs for the office. Pam had highlighted several entries in yellow, my mother's name over and over, dates that corresponded with when I'd sent things, the photo album in April, a birthday card I'd sent my father in June, a package I'd mailed in August with a onesie that said, "Grandpa's fishing buddy," because my dad used to take me fishing when I was little, and I thought maybe it would spark something. "She always said your father had asked her to pick things up," Pam said quietly. "But he never mentioned any of it to me, and I always thought that was strange, because your father tells me everything. He can't work his own email half the time." I stared at the log. "My mother had been here 6 times in the past year. Can I take a picture of this?" I asked. "Take the whole folder," Pam said. I made copies. I looked up at her. "Why?" "Because something felt wrong, and because I've known you since you were 16 years old, and you deserve better than whatever this is." I took the folder. I hugged Pam again, and she whispered in my ear, "Give them hell tonight, honey." I went back to the hotel and spread everything out on the bed. The email thread I'd screenshotted, the sign-in logs from Pam. I opened my laptop and started going through my mother's email again, more carefully this time. I found a folder labeled Madison Baby. Inside were dozens of emails, nursery furniture catalogs, baby name discussions, my mother and Madison planning a baby shower for January, my mother offering to pay for a baby nurse for the first 3 months, my mother sending Madison links to family photographers, preschools, pediatricians. I searched my own name in my mother's email. The only recent messages were the ones I'd sent her. Announcements about Owen, photos, updates. She'd never replied to most of them in email, only in text. Short, non-committal responses that said just enough to make me think she cared, but not enough to leave a record. I checked her sent folder. There was an email she'd sent to my aunt, my father's sister, who lived in Boston, dated 2 months after Owen was born. "Margaret, just wanted to give you a quick update on the girls. Madison and Trevor are doing wonderfully. They just bought the most darling house in West Hartford, and we're over the moon because it's only 20 minutes away. And Madison just told us she's expecting. We're going to be grandparents in February. John is absolutely beside himself with joy. Nina is still out in Denver doing her computer thing. I worry about her out there all alone, but you know Nina. She's always been independent to a fault. Anyway, hope you and Bill are well. Love to the family. I read it twice. All alone. I had a husband. I had a son. And my mother had told my aunt I was alone. I took a screenshot. Then I did something that felt insane but necessary. I logged into my father's email. He used the same password for everything, his birthday backwards. I'd figured it out when I was in high school and needed to email a permission slip from his account. His inbox was chaos. Hundreds of unread messages, mostly automated newsletters and client spam. I searched for my name. Nothing in the past 2 years except an automated notification that I'd tagged him in a Facebook post. A throwback photo of us fishing when I was 9. He hadn't responded. I searched for Owen's name. Nothing. I searched for baby. One result. An email from Madison sent last month with the subject line, Baby Registry. I opened it. Dad, here's the link to our registry in case anyone asks. We've got most of the big stuff covered, but I know people will want to get something. Also, I've been thinking, would you want to be called Grandpa or Papa? Trevor's dad is going with Pop Pop, so we have options. Let me know what feels right to you. Love you, my father had responded. I like Grandpa. That's what I called mine. Can't wait to meet him. Love, Dad. I closed the laptop. I sat there on the hotel bed, surrounded by printed emails and screenshots, and evidence of a conspiracy so quiet and so thorough that I'd almost missed it entirely. My phone buzzed. A text from Ethan. Ethan. Landed. Getting a rental car now. Owen slept the whole flight. Where should we meet you? Me. Stay at the hotel for now. The party starts at 6. I'll text you when I need you. Ethan. What are you planning? Me. The truth. Ethan. I love you. Me. I love you too. Kiss our son for me. I had 4 hours. I opened a new document on my laptop and started writing. The retirement party was at the Lakeview Club, the same place my parents had hosted Madison's wedding reception 3 years ago. I arrived at 5:45, wearing a black dress I'd bought that afternoon from a department store. Simple, elegant, the kind of thing my mother would approve of. I needed her to think I was playing by the rules. The banquet hall was already filling up. Round tables with white linens and gold charger plates. A slideshow playing on a screen at the front of the room. Photos of my father through the years. My father shaking hands with clients. My father holding up a trophy from some charity golf tournament. My father with his arm around my mother at their wedding. My father with Madison on his shoulders when she was maybe 4. I scanned the photos. There was one of me. One. My high school graduation photo, tucked into a montage of family memories between a picture of my parents' dog and a shot of their beach house. I found my assigned seat, table 8. I was seated between a man I didn't recognize and his wife, who introduced themselves as Doug and Patricia Venner. Doug had worked with my father in the 90s. You're the daughter in Denver, right? Patricia asked pleasantly. That's me. What is it you do out there again? I design software. Oh, how interesting. And are you married? I am. Any kids? I looked at her, this stranger who had thought to ask me the question my own mother couldn't answer honestly. Yes, I said. I have a son. He's 14 months old. Patricia's face lit up. Oh, how wonderful. Is he here? Not yet. Before she could ask what I meant, my mother's voice rang out across the room. Everyone, please find your seats. We're about to get started. I watched her float through the crowd in a champagne-colored gown, kissing cheeks, squeezing hands. She saw me and waved, a little finger wiggle that said, I see you, darling, but she didn't come over. Madison appeared next to her, radiant in a rose gold dress with an empire waist that showed off her belly. She was glowing in that way pregnant women glow in movies, and I felt a sharp stab of something ugly and true. I had never gotten to glow like that. I had spent my entire pregnancy throwing up and trying to get my own father to call me back. Trevor was next to her, his hand on her lower back, and my father was right behind them. My father. I hadn't seen him in almost 2 years, not since the Christmas before I got married. He looked older, grayer, thinner in the face. He was wearing a navy suit and a red tie, and he was smiling at something Trevor had said. He glanced in my direction. Our eyes met. He nodded. A polite, distant nod, the kind of nod you give to someone you vaguely recognize. Then he turned back to Madison and said something that made her laugh. I felt Patricia watching me. That's your dad, right? She asked gently. Yeah, I said. That's him. Dinner was served. Chicken or salmon. I didn't eat. I pushed my food around my plate and watched the head table. My father sat between my mother and Madison. Trevor was on Madison's other side. They looked like a portrait, the perfect family. My mother kept leaning over to whisper things to my father, and he'd nod, and Madison would laugh at something Trevor said, and the whole thing looked so warm and intact that I felt like I was watching it from behind glass. At 7:15, the lights dimmed. My mother stood up, holding a champagne flute. Someone handed her a microphone. "Good evening, everyone. Thank you so much for being here tonight." The room quieted. "We are here to celebrate a man who has given 30 years of his life to building something extraordinary. My husband, John Callahan, started this agency with nothing but a desk, a phone, and a dream. And tonight, we celebrate not just his retirement, but his legacy." Applause. She went on. She talked about his work ethic, his integrity, his commitment to his clients. She talked about the life they'd built together. 42 years of marriage, 2 daughters. "Both of whom we are so proud of," she said, gesturing vaguely in the direction of the room. She didn't look at me. "And tonight," she continued, her voice softening, "we also celebrate the beginning of a new chapter. Because in February, John is going to step into the role he was born for, the role he's been waiting for." She turned to Madison, who stood up, glowing, and placed her hand on her belly. The room awed. "We are going to be grandparents," my mother said, her voice breaking in that performative way that made everyone reach for their napkins. "And I cannot think of a better way to close one chapter and open another." The applause was deafening. My father stood up. He hugged Madison. He kissed her forehead. He put his hand on her belly, and I watched his face crumple with emotion. He was crying. My father, who had not called me back, who had not acknowledged the 14 months' worth of photos I'd sent, who had nodded at me like I was a client's daughter he'd met once at a Christmas party, was crying because Madison was giving him what I hadn't. Except I had. I'd given him a grandson named Owen, who had his eyes and Ethan's laugh, and a birthmark on his left shoulder shaped like a comma. And he didn't even know. My mother sat back down, and my father took the microphone. "Thank you all for being here," he said, his voice rough. "I'm not great at speeches, so I'll keep this short." Laughter. 30 years ago, I made a promise to myself that I'd build something that mattered, something I could pass down. And tonight, looking around this room, I can say I did that. More applause. But the thing I'm most proud of isn't the business. It's my family. He looked at my mother, at Madison. "I've been blessed with a wife who has stood by me through every single hard season, and 2 daughters who've made me proud in their own ways. In their own ways. Madison, you and Trevor have given me the greatest gift I could have asked for. I can't wait to meet my grandchild." He raised his glass. "To family," he said. "To family," the room echoed. I stood up. The room was still applauding, so nobody noticed at first. But Patricia noticed. Doug noticed. And then my mother noticed. She looked at me from across the room, and her face went very still. I picked up my phone. I sent a text to Ethan. "Me, now." Then I walked to the front of the room. My father was still standing, still holding his champagne flute, still smiling. He saw me coming and his smile faltered. "Nina?" I took the microphone out of his hand. The room went silent. "Hi, everyone," I said. My voice came out steadier than I expected. "I'm Nina, the other daughter." Nervous laughter. "I just want to say a few words if that's okay." My mother stood up. "Nina, sweetheart, this isn't..." "It'll just take a minute, Mom." I turned back to the room. 200 people staring at me. My father looked confused. Madison looked horrified. "My dad just said he's been waiting to be a grandfather," I said. "And I wanted to share something with all of you." I pulled out my phone. I opened my photos. I turned the screen toward the room even though nobody could see it yet. "This is Owen," I said. "He's my son. He turned 14 months old today." I swiped to the next photo. Owen in the hospital. Owen at 2 months. Owen at 6 months. Owen this morning, smiling at the camera with blueberries smashed into his hair. I've been sending pictures of him to my parents for over a year. I sent a photo album to my dad's office. I sent birth announcements. I sent Christmas cards and Easter photos and updates every single month. The room was completely silent now. I looked at my father. "Dad, do you know Owen's name?" He stared at me. "Nina, I don't..." "Do you know his name?" He looked at my mother. "I didn't..." "She never showed you, did she?" My mother moved toward me. "Nina, sit down, right now." She never told you I got married. She never told you I had a son. She let you believe I was still single, still childless, still the daughter who couldn't figure her life out. That's not true, my mother said, but her voice was shaking. I pulled the folder out of my bag, the one Pam had given me. This is a log from Dad's office. It shows every time you went there to pick up something I'd sent, 6 times in the past year. I handed it to my father. He took it. His hands were shaking. And this, I said, pulling out my phone again, is an email you sent to Madison 3 weeks after Owen was born. I read it out loud. Every word. I don't have the heart to tell him she already did. It's easier if we just let this run its course. Once you have your baby, he'll have a grandchild he can actually be present for. My mother's face went white. Madison was trying to get to me, trying to grab the phone, but I stepped back. You told Aunt Margaret I was alone in Denver. You told Dad I didn't send a birth announcement. You made him think I didn't want him in my life, and you made me think he didn't want to be in mine. I looked at my father, and his face was the kind of broken I'd never seen before. Dad, I wanted you there. I wanted you at my wedding. I wanted you to meet your grandson. I called you. I wrote to you. I sent you everything, and Mom made sure none of it ever reached you. He looked at my mother. She opened her mouth, closed it. John, is this true? He asked. She didn't answer. Laura, is this true? You don't understand, she said. She left. She built a whole life without us, and I didn't want you to feel, did you keep my grandson from me? The room was so quiet I could hear someone's phone buzz 3 tables away. My mother's face crumpled. I was protecting you. From what? From being hurt, from being disappointed, from having to watch another piece of this family slip away. My father looked at her like he'd never seen her before. Then he looked at me. Where is he? He asked. Who? Owen. Where is he? I checked my phone. Ethan had texted back. Ethan, we're in the lobby. I looked at my father. He's downstairs. My father handed the microphone to someone at the nearest table. He didn't look at my mother. He didn't look at Madison. He looked at me and said, take me to him. We walked out of the banquet hall together. My father and me. The entire room watching. My mother called after us. John, please. He didn't turn around. We took the elevator down to the lobby in silence. My father's hands were shaking. He kept opening his mouth like he wanted to say something, then closing it again. When the doors opened, I saw them immediately. Ethan was standing near the front windows, holding Owen. Our son was awake, dressed in a tiny button-down shirt and khaki pants. Ethan had packed his fancy outfit, the one we'd bought for a wedding last summer. Owen was looking around the lobby with wide eyes, taking everything in. My father stopped walking. He stood there, 10 feet away, staring. That's him? He whispered. That's him. Ethan saw us and walked over. Owen saw me and reached out his arms, babbling. Mama, Mama. I took him from Ethan and turned to my father. Dad, this is Owen. Owen, this is Grandpa. My father made a sound I've never heard before, a choked, broken sound. Owen looked at him, studied him. Then he smiled, this big, gummy, ridiculous smile, and reached out his hand toward my father's face. My father started crying. Not quiet tears, full, body-shaking sobs. Can I? He couldn't get the words out. Can I hold him? I looked at Ethan. He nodded. I passed Owen to my father. And my father, this man who had been a stranger to me for so long, who had missed 14 months of his grandson's life, held my son and wept. Owen didn't cry. He just looked up at my father with curious eyes and patted his cheek. Then he said very clearly, Dada. My father laughed through his tears. No, buddy, I'm Grandpa. Owen considered this. Then he said, Papa. My father looked at me, his face completely undone. He's perfect, he whispered. Nina, he's perfect. I know. I didn't know. I swear to God I didn't know. I know, Dad. He sat down on one of the lobby couches, still holding Owen, and he didn't let go for 20 minutes. Ethan sat down next to me. He took my hand. Upstairs, I knew. The party was imploding. My mother was probably trying to salvage it. Madison was probably crying. The guests were probably whispering. But down here, in the quiet lobby of the Lakeview Club, my father met his grandson, and for the first time in 14 months, I felt like I could breathe. We didn't go back upstairs. My father texted someone, his assistant, I think, and told them to make an excuse. He said he had a family emergency. It wasn't a lie. We sat in the lobby for over an hour. My father held Owen. He asked 100 questions. What does he eat? What does he like? Does he sleep through the night? Is he walking yet? I answered everything. Ethan told him about Owen's favorite book, about how he just started saying, uh-oh, every time he dropped something, about how he loved bath time and hated getting his diaper changed. My father laughed. He cried. He took 1,000 pictures on his phone. And then, finally, he looked at me and said, I need to fix this. Dad! No, Nina, I need to fix this. I don't know how yet, but I will. I nodded. He kissed Owen's forehead, then he handed him back to me and stood up. I need to go back up there, he said. I need to talk to your mother. Okay. Will you stay in town, please? A few more days? We'll stay. He nodded. Then he looked at Ethan. I'm sorry, he said. I'm sorry I wasn't at your wedding. I'm sorry I missed all of this. Ethan stood up and shook his hand. You're here now. That's what matters. My father left. Ethan and I took Owen back to the hotel. We put him to bed in the portable crib we'd brought, and then we lay in the dark, holding hands. You okay? Ethan whispered. I don't know yet, I said. You were incredible tonight. I was angry. You were brave. I didn't feel brave. I felt exhausted, hollowed out, but I also felt something else. I felt free. My father called the next morning at 7:30. I was awake, feeding Owen pieces of banana in the hotel room while Ethan showered. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, and I saw Dad's name on the screen. I stared at it for 3 rings before I answered. Hi, Nina. His voice sounded raw, like he'd been awake all night. Can we talk? In person? When? Now? I'm downstairs, in the parking lot. I looked at Owen, who was systematically dropping banana pieces onto the floor and saying, uh-oh, after each one. Give me 20 minutes, I said. Take your time. I'll be here. He hung up. Ethan came out of the bathroom, towel around his waist, and saw my face. Your dad? He's downstairs. You want me to come with you? I thought about it, then shook my head. I need to do this alone. Okay, Owen and I will be here. Take as long as you need. I got dressed. Jeans and a sweater. I braided my hair. I looked at myself in the bathroom mirror and barely recognized the woman staring back. She looked harder than I remembered. Older, tired. When I went downstairs, my father was sitting in his car, a silver Lexus he'd had for as long as I could remember. He got out when he saw me. He looked terrible. Still wearing the suit from last night. Tie gone. Shirt wrinkled. He hadn't shaved. His eyes were red. There's a coffee shop 2 blocks from here, he said. Can we go there? Sure. We drove in silence. He pulled into the parking lot of a small cafe I didn't recognize, and we went inside. He ordered 2 coffees without asking what I wanted. Black. 2 sugars. The way I'd taken it since I was 16. He remembered. We sat in a corner booth. The cafe was mostly empty. A few people on laptops. One older couple reading the newspaper. My father wrapped his hands around his coffee cup and stared at it for a long time. Then he said, I asked your mother to move out. I went very still. I asked her last night, after I went back upstairs. I told her to pack a bag and go stay with her sister, and that we'd talk when I'd had time to think. Dad. She tried to explain. She tried to tell me she was protecting me, that you'd made it clear you didn't want us in your life, that she thought she was doing the right thing. He looked up at me. Nina, did you ever tell her you didn't want us involved? No. Never. Did you ever tell her not to show me the things you sent? No. He nodded slowly. That's what I thought. He took a sip of coffee, hands still shaking. I went through my office this morning, before I came here. I found the photo album. What? Your mother had put it in a storage closet in my office, behind some old client files. Pam showed me where. His voice cracked. It still had the cellophane on it. I couldn't speak. I opened it this morning. I sat in my office at 5:30 in the morning and looked at pictures of my grandson. Pictures of you in the hospital holding him. Pictures of him at 1 month, 2 months, 6 months. Pictures of his first Christmas. He stopped. There was a note inside. On the first page, you wrote, for Grandpa's desk, we love you. A tear ran down his face. I missed all of it, he said. I missed your wedding. I missed Owen being born. I missed his first year. I missed everything. And it wasn't because I didn't care. It was because your mother decided I didn't need to know. Why would she do that? He was quiet for a long time. I've been asking myself that all night, he said finally. And I think she was afraid. Of what? Of losing Madison. Of losing control. He rubbed his face. Your mother has built her entire identity around being the center of this family. And when you left, when you moved to Denver and built a life that didn't revolve around her, I think she saw it as a betrayal. I think she convinced herself that you'd abandoned us, and that the only way to keep the family intact was to make sure Madison never did the same. So she erased me. She tried to. I stared at my coffee, and Madison helped her. He nodded. I talked to your sister this morning too, before I called you. What did she say? Not much. She cried. She said she didn't realize how bad it had gotten. She said she thought she was just helping Mom manage my stress. Do you believe her? He looked at me. Do you? I thought about the emails, the casual cruelty. The baby looks like a potato. the planning, the deliberate coordination, the inheritance question. No, I said. I don't. He nodded again. Neither do I. We sat in silence. Then my father said, I don't know if I can forgive your mother for this. Dad, I mean it. 42 years of marriage, and I don't know if I can forgive her. He looked at me. But I also don't know if I deserve your forgiveness, because even if she hid things from me, I should have tried harder. I should have picked up the phone. I should have gotten on a plane. I'm your father. I should have known something was wrong. I should have come home sooner. You shouldn't have had to. His voice was firm. You sent me pictures. You called. You did everything you were supposed to do. I'm the one who failed. I felt the tears coming and tried to stop them. Failed. My father reached across the table and took my hand. I'm sorry, he said. Nina, I am so sorry. I know. I want to be in Owen's life. I want to be in your life. If you'll let me. I looked at him. This man who had nodded at me like a stranger less than 24 hours ago. This man who had toasted a grandchild that didn't exist yet while his actual first grandchild slept 3 states away. But also this man who had cried when he held Owen. Who had sat in his office at 5:30 in the morning looking at pictures he should have seen a year ago. Who had asked his wife of 4 decades to leave. I want that too, I said. He squeezed my hand. Then we'll figure it out. We talked for 2 more hours. He asked about everything. My wedding, what it was like, where we'd gone on our honeymoon, whether I'd been hurt when they didn't come. My pregnancy, whether it had been difficult, whether I'd been scared, whether I'd wanted my mother there. Owen's birth, every detail, every moment. I told him all of it. And then I asked him something I'd been afraid to ask. Dad, why didn't you ever call me back? All those times I called your office. Why didn't you call me back? He looked confused. What do you mean? I called you 7 times when I was pregnant. I left messages with Pam. You never called back. Nina, I never got those messages. Pam said she told you. Pam told your mother. Your mother said she'd make sure I called you back. He stopped. Oh God. She intercepted those too. He put his head in his hands. I need to talk to Pam. I need to find out how much else I missed. Dad, it's not Pam's fault. I know. But I need to know the truth. All of it. He drove me back to the hotel. Before I got out of the car, he said, Can I see Owen again? Before you leave? We're staying for a few more days. You can see him whenever you want. His face flooded with relief. Really? Really? Can I take him to the park? Or out for lunch? I want to spend time with him. I want to get to know him. Dad, you don't have to ask permission. You're his grandfather. He looked like he might cry again. Okay, thank you. I got out of the car, then turned back. Dad, what are you going to do? About Mom and Madison? He was quiet. I don't know yet, but I know I can't go back to the way things were. Neither can I. He nodded. Good. My mother called that afternoon. I was on the floor of the hotel room, playing blocks with Owen while Ethan worked on his laptop. My phone buzzed and I saw her name. I almost didn't answer. But something in me, the part that was still her daughter, the part that remembered being small and safe in her arms, made me pick up. Hello? Nina. Her voice was thin, strained. Please let me explain. Okay? Not over the phone. Can we meet? Just you and me? I looked at Ethan. He was watching me and he mouthed, You don't have to. But I did. I needed to hear it from her. Where? I asked. There's a park near the hotel, Riverside Park. I can be there in 20 minutes. Okay? I hung up. Ethan said, You sure about this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. My mother was already at the park when I arrived, sitting on a bench overlooking the water. She looked smaller than I remembered. Older. She was wearing yoga pants and a sweater, no makeup, hair in a ponytail. I'd never seen her like this. She stood when she saw me. Thank you for coming. I sat down on the opposite end of the bench. You said you wanted to explain. I do. She twisted her hands in her lap. Nina, I never meant for it to go this far. How far did you mean for it to go? She flinched. At first, I really was just trying to protect your father. You know how he gets. How stressed he was about the business, about retiring. And when you called to say you were pregnant, I thought it would be too much for him. That he'd be upset you were so far away. That he'd feel guilty for not being there. So I told myself I'd wait for the right time to tell him. When things calmed down. And when was that going to be? I don't know. I kept waiting, and then Owen was born, and you sent the announcement, and I thought, if I show him this now, he's going to be devastated that he missed it. He's going to be angry with me for not telling him sooner, so I waited a little longer. You waited 14 months. I know. You didn't just wait, Mom. You actively hid it. You went to his office 6 times to intercept things I sent. You told him I was still single. You told Aunt Margaret I was alone. Her face crumpled. I know, and I'm so sorry. Why? Because I was scared. Her voice broke. I was scared of losing Madison the way I lost you. You didn't lose me, I moved. You disappeared, Nina. You left for grad school and you never came back. You stopped calling. You stopped visiting. You built this entire life that didn't include us, and I didn't know how to handle that. I invited you to my wedding. I know. You didn't come. Your father had a board meeting. There's always a board meeting, Mom. There's always a reason. The truth is, you didn't want to come. She looked at me, eyes red. The truth is, I was hurt. I was hurt that you didn't get married here, that you didn't ask me to help plan it, that you didn't seem to need me at all. So you punished me by keeping my son from his grandfather? No, God, no. It wasn't like that. Then what was it like? She was crying now, full sobs. I don't know, Nina. I just kept thinking, once Madison has her baby, your father will have a grandchild he can actually see. He'll have a grandchild who's close, and maybe that would be enough. Maybe it would hurt less. Maybe you would hurt less. She didn't deny it. We sat in silence. A jogger passed by. A dog barked somewhere in the distance. Finally, I said, "You know what the worst part is?" "What?" "I would have understood if you'd just told me the truth. If you'd called me and said, 'Nina, I'm struggling with the distance. I'm scared of losing you. I need you closer.' I would have tried to fix it. We could have visited more. We could have done video calls. We could have figured something out. I know. But instead, you lied. You manipulated. You turned Madison against me. You stole a year of my father's life with his grandson. You made me think he didn't want me. I'm sorry. I don't know if sorry is enough." She looked at me, devastated. "What can I do?" "I don't know, Mom. I really don't. Do you want me to stay away? From you? From Owen?" I thought about it. I thought about what it would be like to cut her out completely, to raise my children without a grandmother on my side, to never speak to her again. Part of me wanted that, the angry part, the part that had been erased and overlooked and dismissed. But another part, the part that remembered her reading to me at night when I was little, the part that remembered her teaching me to braid my hair, the part that remembered her holding my hand during thunderstorms, that part wasn't ready. "I need time," I said. "I need a lot of time. And I need you to understand that you don't get to be part of Owen's life just because you're his grandmother. You have to earn it." "I will. I'll do whatever it takes. And you need to tell Dad the truth. All of it. Every single thing you hid from him." "I will. And you need to figure out why you did this. Not just to me. Why you needed Madison to be the favorite so badly that you were willing to destroy my relationship with my own father." She nodded, tears streaming down her face. I stood up. "I'm going back to Denver on Wednesday. If you want to see Owen before we leave, you can. But only with Dad there. And only if you apologize to him first." "Okay. And Mom?" "Yes? If you ever do anything like this again, I'm done. Completely. Do you understand?" "I understand." I walked away without looking back. We stayed in Connecticut for 5 more days. My father came to see Owen every single day. He took us to breakfast. He took Owen to a children's museum. He bought him a stuffed elephant that Owen immediately named Effa and refused to put down. He took 10,000 pictures. He held Owen in the park and pushed him on the baby swings and helped him feed ducks and laughed when Owen tried to eat the bread instead of throwing it. He called me every night after we put Owen to bed and asked if he could come back the next day. On the 4th day, he asked if we'd consider moving back to Connecticut. "I know that's a lot to ask," he said quickly. "I know you have a life in Denver, but I've missed so much already. I don't want to miss any more." "Dad, my job is in Denver. Ethan's job is in Denver. I could help you find jobs here. I know people. I could—" "Dad," he stopped. "I love that you want to be close," I said. "But I'm not moving back here. This isn't my home anymore." His face fell. "But," I continued, "we can visit more. And you can visit us. You can come to Denver anytime you want. You can stay with us. You can be as involved as you want to be." "Really? Really? You're Owen's grandfather. He should know you." He nodded, eyes wet. Okay, I'll take it." On the 5th day, my mother asked if she could see Owen. My father had already told me they were separated, that he'd asked her to stay with her sister while he figured out what came next. He'd met with a lawyer. He'd started dividing assets. "I don't know if I'm getting divorced," he'd said. "But I need space. I need to figure out if I can trust her again." When my mother asked to see Owen, my father was with me. We were at a coffee shop, the same one where we'd talked that first morning. He looked at me. It's your call. I thought about it. Then I said, 1 hour, at the park, both of you there. We met at Riverside Park the next afternoon. My mother was already there when we arrived, sitting on the same bench where we'd talked days before. She stood when she saw us, and I saw her eyes go immediately to Owen. Owen was in his stroller, wearing his elephant shirt, the one Ethan's mom had sent for his first birthday. He was chewing on Effa's ear and babbling to himself. My mother's face crumpled. Hi, she said softly. Hi, Mom. My father hung back, letting me take the lead. I parked the stroller and unbuckled Owen. He reached for me, and I picked him up. Mom, this is Owen. Owen, this is Grandma. My mother put her hand over her mouth. Hi, sweetheart, she whispered. Owen looked at her suspiciously. Then he buried his face in my shoulder. He's shy with new people, I said. He's beautiful, Nina. He's so beautiful. We sat down on the grass. My mother kept a respectful distance, and Owen gradually warmed up enough to show her Effa. What's his name? She asked. Effa, Owen said proudly. That's a very good name. Owen nodded seriously, then went back to chewing on the elephant's ear. My mother watched him with this look on her face, hunger and grief and regret all mixed together. After a while, she said, Nina, I talked to a therapist. I looked at her, surprised. Your father suggested it. He said if I wanted any chance of fixing this, I needed to understand why I did it. She twisted her hands together. I've only had 2 sessions, but it's helping. I'm starting to see things I couldn't see before. Like what? Like the fact that I've been trying to control everyone around me because I was terrified of being alone. Like the fact that I put Madison in an impossible position by making her feel like she had to be the perfect daughter. Like the fact that I resented you for leaving because it meant I couldn't control you anymore. I didn't say anything. I know it's going to take more than therapy to fix this, she continued. I know I broke something that might not be fixable. But I want you to know I'm trying. I'm really trying. Owen toddled over to her and held out Effa. Effa, he said. My mother took the elephant carefully, like it was made of glass. Thank you, Owen. He smiled at her. Then he toddled back to me. My mother handed Effa back with tears in her eyes. Thank you for this. For letting me meet him. I didn't do it for you, I said honestly. I did it for him. Every kid deserves to know their grandparents. But you have to earn his trust, Mom. You have to show up. I will. I promise. We stayed for the full hour. By the end, Owen was letting my mother roll a ball back and forth with him. She didn't try to hold him. She didn't push. When it was time to go, she stood up and said, Can I hug you? I hesitated. Then I nodded. She hugged me and I let her, but I didn't hug her back. Small steps. We flew back to Denver on a Wednesday morning. My father drove us to the airport. He carried Owen through the terminal, pointing out airplanes and making engine noises that made Owen shriek with laughter. At the security line, he handed Owen back to me and kissed his forehead. I'll see you soon, buddy, he said. Grandpa's going to visit really soon. Owen waved. Bye-bye. My father looked at me. I meant what I said. I want to visit. Is next month too soon? Next month is perfect. Okay, I'll book a flight tonight. He paused. And Nina? Yeah? Thank you. Thank you for not giving up on me. Thanks for showing up. He hugged me, and this time I hugged him back. Ethan and I didn't talk much on the flight home. Owen slept in my lap, and I stared out the window at the clouds and thought about everything that had happened. A week ago, I'd been the invisible daughter, the erased one. Now I didn't know what I was. When we landed in Denver, Julie was waiting for us at baggage claim. She'd offered to pick us up, and when she saw my face, she pulled me into a hug. You okay? She asked. I think so. You were so brave. I was so angry. Same thing sometimes. We drove home through familiar streets, and when we pulled up to our house, our small, perfect house with the blue door and the garden Ethan had planted, I felt something loosen in my chest. This was home. Not Connecticut. Not my parents' house. Not the life my mother had wanted me to live. This. My father visited 3 weeks later. He stayed for 5 days. He slept in our guest room. He went to the grocery store with us. He helped Ethan fix a leaky faucet. He read to Owen every night before bed. On his last night, after Owen was asleep, the 3 of us sat on the back porch with beers and watched the sun set. I like it here, my father said. I understand why you stayed. Yeah? Yeah, it suits you. We sat in comfortable silence. Then he said, I filed for divorce. I looked at him, shocked. Dad. I tried. I really did. But every time I look at her, I think about what she stole from me. From you. From Owen. He shook his head. I can't get past it. I'm sorry. Don't be. It's the right thing. He took a sip of his beer. Madison's not speaking to me. What? She says I'm choosing you over her, that I'm punishing Mom for trying to protect the family, that I'm being cruel. My chest tightened. Dad, I don't want to be the reason. You're not. This is my choice. Madison is an adult. She made her choices and now she has to live with them. He looked at me. I missed your entire wedding. I missed Owen's birth. I missed his first word, his first steps, his first Christmas. I'm not missing anything else. What about Madison's baby? He was quiet. I don't know yet. That's my grandchild too. But I can't pretend everything's fine. I can't show up and play happy family when I know what she did. She's still your daughter. So are you. Madison's baby was born in February. A boy named Preston. My father didn't go to the hospital. He sent flowers and a card, but he didn't go. He called me that night, and I could hear the pain in his voice. Did I do the right thing? He asked. I don't know, Dad. That's not my call. I keep thinking about him, my grandson, but I can't look at Madison right now without feeling sick. Maybe you need more time. Maybe. 3 months later, my mother called me. It was the first time we'd spoken since the park. Nina, I need to tell you something. Okay. Madison and Trevor are getting divorced. I sat down. What? The financial investigation from the trust fund. Trevor couldn't handle it. He said he couldn't be married to someone he couldn't trust. She paused. She's moving back in with me. How is she? Devastated. Angry. She blames you. Of course she does. I told her that's not fair. I told her this was my fault, not yours. Does she believe you? No. We were both quiet. Then my mother said, I don't expect you to forgive her, or me, but I wanted you to know. Okay, thanks for telling me. How's Owen? He's good. He's talking more. He says Grandpa now. I heard her breath catch. That's wonderful. Dad's coming to visit again next month. I know, he told me. Another silence. Mom, are you okay? No, but I'm working on it. Okay. I love you, Nina. I closed my eyes. I love you too. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was something. Owen turned 2 in March. We threw a party at our house. Ethan's parents came. Julie came with her kids. My father flew in and stayed for a week. My mother asked if she could come. I said no. It's too soon. I told her on the phone. I'm not ready. I understand. Maybe for his 3rd birthday. Okay, I'll wait. She sent a gift anyway. A wooden train set with Owen's name engraved on it. He loved it. I'm pregnant again. 12 weeks. A girl this time. I called my father the day after we found out. He cried. Can I tell people? He asked. You can tell anyone you want. Can I come when she's born? Dad, you're the first person I'm calling after Ethan. Of course you can come. He's already looking at flights. My mother doesn't know yet. I'll tell her eventually. But not today. Madison sent me a message last week through Instagram. I hope you're happy. You destroyed our family. I blocked her. Here's what I know now. I know that telling the truth doesn't fix everything. It breaks things first. It burns things down. I know that some people will never forgive you for refusing to stay small. I know that my mother might never fully understand what she did. And I know that Madison might hate me for the rest of her life. But I also know this. My son knows his grandfather. He runs to the door when he sees him. He says, Grandpa here, and claps his hands. My father FaceTimes us twice a week. He's moving to Denver next year. He's already looking at houses. My daughter will be born in October. And her grandfather will be in the delivery room if I want him there. And I do. I spent so many years making myself smaller so other people could be comfortable. I swallowed my hurt. I made excuses. I told myself kind stories about cruel people. And I almost lost everything because of it. That night at the retirement party, when I stood up and took that microphone, I wasn't trying to hurt anyone. I wasn't trying to get revenge. I was trying to be seen. For the first time in my life, I demanded to be seen. And it cost me my mother, at least for now. It cost me my sister, maybe forever. But it gave me my father back. It gave Owen his grandfather. It gave me my voice. If you're reading this and you recognize yourself in my story, if you're the daughter who's always been too much or not enough, if you've spent your life trying to earn love that should have been freely given, if someone in your family has been rewriting your story to make theirs better, please hear me. You don't have to stay quiet. You don't have to keep the peace at the cost of your own truth. You don't have to let other people speak for you, erase you, or decide your worth. Pick up the phone, get on the plane, walk into the room, take the microphone, tell your truth. Even if your voice shakes, even if people get angry, even if it costs you everything you thought you wanted. Because on the other side of that truth is something better than comfort. It's freedom. Owen is napping right now in the room next to mine. In a few months, his sister will be here. My father will hold her and cry, just like he did with Owen. And this time, he won't miss a single moment. That's worth everything.